What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review an acoustic album by Blood on the Dance Floor. Basically this product is called Blood Unplugged and it came out in the late fall of 2013. So the name of this particular product here is Blood on the Dance Floor. It had a pretty large early 2010s as far as those first going to happen between hit albums like All the Rage, Epic, Evolution, some of those type ones, even Bad Blood within those particular type fairs. I reviewed a series of these. I think this is like the last Javon Monroe project to get to with Blood on the Dance Floor, as he was a part of as far as this bitch can happen. I reviewed Scissors back in the fall of 2024, and that's the last time I touched base with Blood on the Dance Floor, which was their 2016 project. So I've reviewed these as far as those first can happen. It's been a little bit since I reviewed Blood on the Dance Floor as far as those first going to win, but I wanted to get back to some of this type of stuff. They do have a series more, I think, particularly with some of these in like the late 2010s were with Foul and Vendetta as far as those pairs can happen. So it's within the pitch as far as being able to say. This is another basic classic here for Blood on the Dance Floor, like so many of their albums that I've given high scores and raised scores as far as those pitch can happen. This is another hitting type one within the pitch, nails these acoustic vibes. Now initially as I was listening to this I thought it was going to be more haphazard, but they pull out the particular vibes with flair as far as this pitch can happen. Just a good aspect here. Now there is at least one original single in here as far as this pitch can happen. There is another original song which is also Don't Want to Be Like You, which is also on the Anthem of the Outcast EP, which came out in like 2012 as far as this pitch can happen. So it's just kind of within the pitch as far as saying that that's the particular aspect about it. Now look after it here. This is a good aspect to be able to get this album as far as what's first going to happen. It definitely pulls out the acoustic vibe within a lot of these senses. Now, the only real thing to really complain about within a minor type sense about this product is just the fact that there's not a ton of turn-up songs on here. They pick Blood on the Dance Floor definitely picks some of their biggest hits on here when you think of songs like Bewitched, Sex Stain, Death to Your Heart, Something Grim, some of these type of ones, Scream for My Ice Cream, I'm a Monster, some of these type of ones within those pitches. There's probably some other ones within the pitch. Yo-Ho is probably particularly one of those type of ones, just within some of those type of fairs. But I look after it here. Apart from the song Sexting, there is not really a ton of kind of up-tempo type moments, which is kind of like, it's not a full-bound disappointment, but it's just kind of within the aspect as far as being able to say, I think acoustic kind of turn-up songs would have been an interesting type pitch, considering that's basically always been Blood on the Dance Floor. It's kind of bread and butter as far as those aspects can go. It's just like those typical kind of frenetic, kind of spicy, hyper tense kind of like dance club thrivers as far as this pitch can have. So that would have been really interesting to have gotten some of that format in a more smoky kind of haze type sense of like something mid-tempo and like an acoustic sense. But the only real song that shows off that particular flair of them being able to do that is Sex Stain. So there's not really songs. I'm trying to think of some of those, like the lead single off of Bad Blood, which is I was surprised that I Refused to Sink wasn't on here. And there's some other type ones like Rise and Shine by Deuce would have been a pretty nice one to have gotten on here. Revenge Porn isn't on here, some of those type of ones. Other hits like ones off of All the Rage like Plur, PLUR is not on here, some of those type ones within the Tangent. So, I mean, I realize that this is kind of a snappy kind of acoustic type album. So I'll just say like this is going to get like a virtual classic score. There's really only one song out of the 13 on here I don't recommend. And there is one almost song on top of that, which is just basically don't want to be like you, just because that was also on Anthem of the Outcast. Now it's been over 2 years since I reviewed that product, but just be able to say within the pitch it does have some good type fare. So 11.5 out of 13, but just be able to say that's a virtual classic with the impact. It's really only one song I don't recommend, but just being able to say within that particular type aspect here. Look after is just kind of the concept that it could probably possibly leave you hungry if you're looking. I mean, this is a very brooding type product. This has the aspect of a lot of torment, a lot of autumn haze. It's the aspect of just more in like a brooding, not so much like a kind of festive Halloween within a sense. It's very good for the aspect of September, October, November, but just kind of the concept of just more typical kind of colder, just harsher kind of winters and autumns as far as this pitch is going to happen. So it's just kind of within the context as far as this pitch is going to happen. Now, I guess I like the, obviously the emo and moody Blood on the Dance Floor hits pretty heavily within the impact of it, but just be able to say that you get more kind of just this kind of has the aspect. It's not so much of like a Friday type product within the turn up of it, but it's not so much like a Friday type product within the aspect of it. But just being able to say there was at least one single on here as far as this pitch can happen, which is Time Machine, which is a real nice one. I really do like the affability and the overall flair of this particular product. Like I was saying, the moodiness factors off the chain. They're very similar to like folks like Three Doors Down and like the anguish of like Korn and Marilyn Manson and some of those type folks, just the torment that kind of goes along with that. I definitely feel like the aspect. This is a little bit more moody than typical kind of Blood on the Dance Floor. Usually they have a little bit more cheery type factor. Like I said, they're usually more hyper tense, electro pop pitches like that, just more boisterous. But it's this kind of concept. This is a more kind of just like darker and just overall swirled kind of torment of a project just with an aspect. So it's just different. I want to say I do kind of remember Bad Blood mildly being like that, but it just takes those particular aspects. So just be honest, say Time Machine is a nice one. It's like a simmering kind of MySpace emo fog to kind of get here. Just a relative makeshift with like some smoky, with like with it's like some relative makeshift with like a smoky kind of acoustic tint about it as far as what's first going to happen. So just a typical type pitch, one of those 4 o'clock p.m. type drifters that you would get just after work shift, some of that particular type fare. Just after all, just the leftover type moments that just got done with things as far as what's pitch going to happen. The relative wrap up of it, just kind of in a more typical kind of MySpace type format way out in late 2013 as far as what's first going to happen. Obviously, MySpace by that stage was kind of ended by that particular pitch, but just some relative aspects of getting some of that leftover type flair within those pitches behind it. It's a good type product to just like that continue kind of hot topic and emo type fold within the pitch of just getting some of that particular fare, just like sort of songs that folks like Rihanna and the sort of songs that folks like Rihanna and Avril Lavigne crank out pretty evenly within the pitch behind it. This is a good makeshift grab, just like so many times that Blood on the Dance Floor tried to cross over into the commercial markets, but they are always held back. It's a good type pitch that this probably could have some real excellent type commercial type appeal, and does have that radio appeal about it. It's a real nice acoustic number that pulls off their versatility pretty damn well. It's just in the pitch that their typical problems just marred them with the pitch, but still excellent type flair. So the other single, which had a music video, now this is not really a music video exclusive to this product, but it was at least released on here as far as what's first going to happen, just to package it further, which would be Don't Want to Be Like You. This is the Almost song just because it's on other products, but I'll still talk about it here just because it's been a while and I don't remember what I said back in those days. It's like a day shift push and like an everyday kind of drifting, I'd have to say, within the aspect behind it. Just some emo, definitely some emo makeshift to kind of get here. Just it's like definitely like an emo makeshift kind of grab here to kind of get in a very dope song within the pitch behind it. So just typical type format. Time Machine had some of that relative emo MySpace fog, but this one has a little bit more just within the pitch behind it. This one's a little bit more exactingly kind of work a day, just kind of within the product of. It's really kind of miss like the commerce of just still being work outfit pitches like that. Just pretty much just going and picking up like a coffee, some of those type fares, just basic snacks, basic kind of usual routine type food that you get at some of your fast food joints and pitches like that are just those typical kind of places that I'd say is a good aspect there. So yeah, I'm going to give this album like a 9.75 out of 10, just with the pitch behind it. Just only one song I don't recommend. That only song is just Yo-Ho as far as this pitch is going to happen. Now, I want to say, when I reviewed All the Rage back in 2023, I want to say that that was the song I didn't recommend back in those days either. I feel like that, I mean, it's an interesting aspect to get like a pirate type song within a pitch, but I just think the format of how it's particularly handled was just not the aspect behind it. I think folks like Ghostfire and like Abney Park just particularly nailed that particular vibe with like that shanty type music a lot better. I know it's not really supposed to be full bound kind of taken seriously. It's supposed to be kind of lackadaisical and comedic within the tone behind it. But it's this kind of aspect it just doesn't have as much the full blown flair about it as far as this pitch is going to happen. I mean, so it has a relative, like, I suppose in certain aspects there might be folks within the aspect that might see the charm about it, but just did not. I mean, the original version is kind of here and there, but this particular one just didn't nail the flair as far as trying to have like a pirate song and like a folk type sense. This didn't really make sense. This kind of song, it was just kind of the thing about it. But to talk about the rest of this album, like I said, 9.75 out of 10. So one of the best songs off this album in terms of immediacy, like I was saying, is Sexting. It's like a spicier kind of acoustic dance hop to kind of get here. Just a sludgy kind of get in motion, I'd have to say. Connecting mood, definitely I'd feel like hearing just kind of a dusk. The acoustic Sexting is like a dusk kind of heater as far as this pitch can have. So just one of those type ones. Like I said, probably could have used a song like I Refuse to Sing, some of those type pitches. Further type songs like Revenge Porn, some of those type pitches that probably should have been on this album to bolster it a little bit further. But the impact of this album is pretty heavy. Just the brooding type aspect of just getting like some torment here and just overall flair and anguish, sullenness, just overall the dirgeness and just like the typical kind of aspect of just demons having to wrestle with as far as what's supposed to happen really works pretty well. So it just really nails that particular kind of autumn and winter kind of dredge. So this is one of those type ones if you're just having some ruffled times, a good concept for some of that type fare. just to say some of these, like Redeemer is definitely one of those examples. This is like an evening retire and romantic kind of sunset gaze kind of get here. It goes with Time Machine, the single. I would definitely feel like here just a little bit more moody within the pitch than that particular one. Time Machine's a little bit more just makeshift kind of fog within the pitch behind it. Just that 345, 415 type pitch. But I'd say Redeemer's just kind of more evening, just with a pitch of like something 645. It's kind of bottle popping, kind of champagne, something like that. Just almost just within a romantic kind of smoky aspect. Just something that you would see in like the movies where you're in like a road pitch, just like that. And this kind of aspect of just kind of being beleaguered, just something, some sort of island getaway kind of anguish, or just summer vacay kind of anguish as far as this pitch can have. So it's just when the pitch as far as saying that particular fare about it. It's good type fare. The song Believe is a pretty excellent one on here. This is the most morose song on this album. I'd have to say it's a pretty full bound type one to get within that pitch. It's like a fleeting kind of dissonant. The song Believe is like a fleeting kind of dissonant anguish kind of get here, just down in the dumps. I would definitely feel like about this one. Just good commerce push as far as what's first going to happen, but just kind of a stock emo hitter within some of those type of aspects. So this one's just probably one of the most morbid ones on here in terms of the aspect behind it. Just really has the aspect of just kind of having like the particular this real swamp type altitude, just kind of being like, damn, gotta kind of just being more bruised than normal as far as this pitch can happen. But it definitely works for like some good makeshift type commerce, just for that concept of like colder winters and autumns as far as this pitch can happen. Good, nice one for that. I'm a Monster has some good type of appeal. It's like a bubbling relief from like makeshift slag. The hit song I'm a Monster is like a bubbling relief from like makeshift slag, I'd have to say here, just kind of vine to vine within those pitches. So just going like a kind of crappy kind of makeshift day to like a crappy kind of after worship kind of personal life type fare, just within pitch. Just vine to vine with some of those just harrowing type things within pitch. This is kind of vine to vine like a jangled kind of folk sense as far as what's first gonna happen. So it's just a little bit of like an up tempo type one, but just kind of a little more dismantled about it. Just kind of caught up in like the standard kind of personal life dramatics as far as what's first gonna happen between business and personal as far as what's pitch gonna happen. Just kind of tippled and typeness. It's tippled, this brewing and frenetic just from the aspect behind it. It's a good type one, but it's just kind of concept. This one's not as full bound kind of recreational, but it's just kind of concept of this, everyday type fare, just in a more, just to say within the aspect, just typical within the concept of it, just within that particular aspect. So it switches it up. The original I'm a Monster was a lot different from this back in like the 2008 days. So it's just a good type pitch, kind of get this one. Scream from My Ice Cream's a quality one as well. It's like a stretching kind of heartland commerce, kind of getting like an emo fashion. I'd have to say here, just good one to smoke one too as far as this pitch can happen, and good one to stew to as far as the aspect kind of goes. So just good type pitch. Definitely plenty of songs on here to ruminate to. Unforgiven, Scream from My Ice Cream, some of these type ones, Death to Your Heart, basically like Believe, some of these type ones, Bewitched, some of these type ones in particular, Something Grip. So it's just plenty of these aspects to like these brewers just to ruminate and just extra kind of afterthought, some of that particular type flair. But Scream from My Ice Cream is just a little bit more just out and about type one, not so much neighborhood just within a sense, but just kind of more just within the typical kind of commerce of just like not so much big city, but just within pitch like just a stretching type one just within the neighborhood as far as it's going to go, just kind of local bound in like an autumn sense, I'd say. Where's My Wonderland is a quality one as well. It's like a dope soul. Where's My Wonderland is like a dope Where's My Wonderland is like a dope kind of sulkiness. I'd say just ruffled times. I would definitely feel like here, just neighborhood kind of autumn outs. I'd say, and just typical for like the routine. Yeah, Where's My Wonderland is just typical kind of autumn routine, just out and about within the neighborhood type fare. Strolls like that, pitches some of that type fare, just snack runs, some of that type goodness, just getting Chex Mix and standard typical snacks, corn dogs, some of that particular type fare within the pitch behind it. Good type aspects there, nachos, some of that good type stuff. So I'd say within some of those type pitches. Something Grim is a pretty nice one as well. It's like a brooding kind of afterthought autumn haze, kind of get within these aspects here. It definitely goes with Redeemer. I'd have to say some of those type pitches. Similar type format. Not quite as dramatic and quite as romantic. Full bound within the pitch behind it, but definitely a good pitch for that. Just some local torment as far as those aspects kind of happen with that. Now this is a good type song off of Bad Blood. This is the second single off of Bad Blood as far as this pitch kind of happens. So it's just kind of the product of just very similar to that one. Some of these songs do have similarities to the original type ones, some of them more so than others. Like I'm a Monster is pretty different. Sexting has some of that particular type flair within a sense. Bewitched has some similarities, so some of these type ones, Death to Your Heart has some similarities, but it's just one of the pitch as far as Something Grim is definitely one that has similarities to the original type one, but just kind of more brooding with an aspect behind it. It's kind of smoky kind of ruminate and drifting as far as those aspects kind of happen. So it's good type flair just within the pitch as far as those pitches will kind of happen with that. Now, I don't know if I talked about Death to Your Heart. I might have talked about this one. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I don't know if I talked about Bewitched either. I think I'm going to talk about Bewitched. Bewitched is one of the quality ones. This is like supposedly like the most popular song by Blood on the Dance Floor as far as this pitch can happen. This is one that I think has like 1 million plays on YouTube or something like that. Now they're not on Spotify anymore, and they're kind of more difficult to find because of all the mishaps that they've had, but it's just within the pitch. This remains one of their most popular songs. So Bewitched is like a gothic and ghostly kind of revisit to Blood on the Dance Floor staple as far as this pitch can happen. It's very similar to the original. Nice brushy spin. Nice brushy spin as far as this pitch can go along with it. And this is very much like Twilight, the saga. This particular variation of this song is very much like the Twilight Saga movies as far as this pitch can happen. Some of those type ones, like when you think of like the song that like Paramore did, which I forget what it's called, but like when you think of Decode by Paramore, some of those type pitches just with an aspect behind it. So it's just good type fare for that. This kind of aspect there, similar to the Twilight Saga movies, some of those type pitches within the soundtracks. Good aspect for that. I'm trying to think if there's other ones on here that I don't think I talked about Unforgiven as far as this pitch can happen. I think I'm going to talk about Death to Your Heart, but also talk about Unforgiven. So Unforgiven is like an out in the dusk fog kind of haunting air and run to kind of get here. This great October haze that I had to say about this one. Just some ruminate type heat within the aspects as far as this pitch can happen. So it's just good type pitch. Now, actually, I think I did talk about Unforgiven. This is one. Death to Your Heart's like a nice folk retread of Death to Your Heart's like a nice folk retread of like a hit Blood on the Dance Floor song as far as this pitch can happen. Just dramatic kind of evening pain within some of those type pitches. Good for some bloodletting as far as this pitch can happen. So just with the pitch behind it, a little bit more kind of contemporary. This one's not quite as in the full bound torment of it, but definitely one of those type pitches that just gotta let off some steam. Some of those particular type fares. Just more of like probably 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. 6:30, 7:15 type PM type slag, just steam unwinding as far as this pitch can happen with it. Just kind of aspect of just more venting, more so than full blown kind of broodiness, like some of these type ones like Unforgiven or Believe, some of those type ones within the pitch behind it. Maybe I didn't talk about Unforgiven. I think I talked about Believe. I said Believe was the darkest one on here, so I'm going to talk about Unforgiven as well. But this ones like Unforgiven, Believe, to a certain extent, Redeemer, some of these type ones, Time Machine within certain aspects, but just be able to say so those are some of the real morose type ones. But yeah, Death to Your Heart's like a more venting kind of bloodletting. Unforgiven's an excellent one as well. It's like an out in the dust fog kind of haunting air and run to kind of get here. This great October haze that I'd say into some ruminate heat as far as this pitch can happen. So it's just within the flare. So this kind of amidst like the product of like day type fare, maybe some late errands are still left over to kind of take care of, and like the October haze of it, just the pitch behind it. I mean, the makeshift kind of fashion within this product is just kind of more on autopilot as far as those pitches can happen. It's just kind of amidst like the torment, like I said, within the pitch behind, but it's just kind of the concept as far as saying that the product of just getting things done within the concept of just kind of drifting within a sense, but just kind of the concept of just like a typical kind of banner, kind of emo and moody type album out of alternative type fashions out of the early 2010s and mid 2010s as far as those pitch cabs. So just consistently within that aspect, definitely Twilight Saga type brooding, some of those type pitches, Panic at the Disco, some of those type folks, Green Day, some of those type folks in particular. This that typical kind of aspect of anguish just within the flair behind it as far as that would particularly kind of go. So it just has those pitches about it. Some of these are just kind of amidst like the makeshift within a relative type sense of just like some leftover tasks to wrap up in like 6:30, 6:45, 7:15 type PM pitches like that. So that's it's a good type concept. But album gets a 9.75 as far as this pitch can happen. The social score I'll probably give like a 9.5 out of 10. I like the aspect behind this album. Like I said, it's very brooding within the concept. It has some social type appeal. This has enough popularity to be able to say that this is a good aspect to play within relative senses of your pals, but this is kind of more solo for Dolo within the pitch. So there's not a ton of like social type moments. I mean, it has the affability of its character in some of these brooding type ones within the anguish if it's affable to folks that already are fans of Blood on the Dance Floor, but it doesn't really attract like new kind of audiences within the pitch as far as saying getting something that's like a social winner like they're typically known for with like their more carnivorous type moments. The only thing that really comes close to that is just Sex Stain. Other than that, to a minor sense, you could say I'm a Monster has a little bit of that bubbling relief of just having some frenetic type times and just caught up in things, but for the most part, social numbers on here are kind of kept to a minimum. This is way more of a brooding type project. It is excellent type fare, and the character is way off the scale in terms of like the appeal it has, but it's just kind of constant. There's not really anything dance club kind of step out kind of connecting with an aspect of it full bounce just from the pitch. But the single Time Machine is pretty nice one as well, but it's just from the pitch that most of these are not as full bound kind of infection. Most of these are not as full-bound kind of carnivorous as within the pitch. So 9.5 social. In terms of the future, like Blood on the Dance Floor has broken up as of like 2016 with Jay Vaughn, and then as of 2018 with Fallon Vendetta, and then really the band as a whole as of 2019 as far as this pitch can happen. Now they do have some other type ones. They released like some bonus type products in the 2020s as far as this pitch can happen. Davi does at least put out more products as like the most vivid nightmares, but within the pitch, for the most part, Blood on the Dance Floor is kind of a For the most part, Blood on the Dance Floor is kind of a closed chapter, but there are plenty more projects to get to. Dobby consistently puts out more stuff, and there's just more pitches like that. So there's plenty more to get to. I'm going to get to some of these type 1s. Definitely going to get to like the 2018 albums by Blood on the Dance Floor, the 2019 one, Hollywood Death Star, the 2017 projects with Fallon Vendetta and like Kawaii Monster, some of those type pitches. We'll get to some of these type 1s, but this is like a virtual classic here, very banner, just like love the appeal and the overall broodiness. This product really hits pretty heavily, and it's just a very connecting type 1.